Hello, friends. Welcome to this new episode of the Pathfinders. The Pathfinders is a career guidance initiative run under the aegis of Viva Life Skills trainers and consultants. Today, we bring to you yet another professional, an accomplished journalist and media leader, MILIND KOKJE. Welcome, MILIND, to this episode of the Pathfinders.
Thank you, Anil.
MILIND KOKJE has been in this field for over 3 decades with multitude of media experience in wire service, print, television, and internet media, while working for various reputed national and international media organizations. So let's see what Milind has to share with us. So, Milind, as usual, the first question, why did you choose journalism as the profession? And how did it all
Uh,
begin?
Thank you, Anil, for inviting me for this interview. And before I start, I must thank you and Pathfinder. During my 4 decades of career, I have interviewed several people, but this is probably first time I have become an interviewee and giving an interview to somebody.
Very nice.
So I'm sitting on the other side this time.
You are sitting on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, just to tell you about my beginning of the career, I must tell you that it was in my family. My
Oh, I
father
see.
was an accomplished journalist, and he was with Indian Express Group and worked there for nearly 40 years and retired on a very high position. Later, he also became editor of two Marathi important newspapers.
Right.
So I was seeing his life right from the beginning.
Right.
And though that life is very difficult, I'll talk to you about it later.
Yeah, yeah. We
But
would
it,
love to
it
hear
was
about that.
exciting. It was exciting. What I saw was
Yes.
exciting. And
Yes.
what is that excitement? So that excitement is maybe it's very difficult to imagine sometimes, but I'll try to
Right.
explain. That
Sure.
excitement is that I know something before everybody knows.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that really sparks you to become a journalist. So I
Right.
think that number one, that I had seen my father's life, and that excited me, and I developed that feeling that I knew I must know something, everything before everybody else knows, and that brought me to the field of journalism.
Right.
I did my course in journalism in Pune. That time, those were the days where journalism was not taught at many places. Now there are several courses, but
Right.
that time only few courses were there in Maharashtra. Pune University and Nagpur University were two universities. Then
Mhm.
Hyderabad was one university where the
Right.
courses were there. The Pune University course was a postgraduate bachelor's degree. So I did my
Oh, I
BA in
see.
economics and politics
Right.
in university, Bachelor of Arts, and then I joined this course in Pune University, which is the classes being conducted at the Ranade Institute on Ferguson College,
Right.
and it was a full time 1 year course, and the degree I got was of Bachelor of Journalism. So I'm
I
Bachelor
see.
of Arts, also journalism, and now recently, after completed 60, I did my doctorate in
Oh, wonderful.
journalism on ethics in journalism. Uh,
Fantastic.
so in 1980,
Rare
when I
combination, I should say.
yeah, definitely.
Right.
Normally, journalists do not do that
So
because the
that,
writing styles are
that's
different.
sure.
So after my completing my graduation in Pune, I came back to Mumbai. I'm basically from Mumbai, so I came back to my home. And the first job I did with a paper called, it was not a job exactly, but I started going there and working without any money, kind of
Okay.
an internship
Right.
with a paper called the Daily. It was a new paper, Mumbai's first tabloid paper that
Oh,
was
I see.
started by a legendary journalist called R.K. Karanjia, who used to run
R.K.
Blitz
Karanja, of course, is
Weekly.
a very well known name.
Yeah, and his weekly Blitz was very famous.
Yes,
So
yes.
from weekly, he shifted to, not shifted, but he added in his table one more paper, and that was daily. So I started
Okay.
working with Daily. I worked there for 6 months. And
Oh,
from there, I went to a very old paper which was known in the freedom struggle in Mumbai called
right.
Free Press Journal. And
Right.
there, of course, it was, though it was a traineeship, but I was paid little bit. So it was a paid traineeship.
Right. Right. Right.
So
Right.
I worked there for nearly 1 year. And
Right.
from there, I started moving to various places.
Right.
Then I went to a national news agency called PTI, which is
Right.
incidentally completing
Yeah.
75 years now in 2 months.
Yeah. It's a yeah.
And they're coming out
Very
with
well
some new
known.
volume
Yeah.
in which my article may be included also.
Right.
So there I worked for nearly 2.5 years. It was a really best training ground. PTI was one of the best training grounds. From
Right.
there, I went to an evening paper from Bennett Coleman and Group, that is Times of India Group, which closed down later. But at that time, it was very famous. It was called the Evening News of India. So all old Mumbaikars of your and my
Right.
generation,
Yeah. Yeah. Of
they
course, I
know Evening
recollect.
News of India.
Yeah. Of course, I recollect.
And
Yes.
from Evening News of India, it closed down unfortunately in 6 months, and I was transferred to Times of India. So I spent
Okay.
nearly 10 years in Times of India. Then I went to a completely other side, like I'm sitting on the other side today,
Right.
giving interview. I went into a little bit of PR for 2 years in one company called Market Missionary, where we
Right.
tried to develop a completely new model. They were my friends, and that's why they called me. We tried to develop a new model on developing supplements for the newspapers as an outsourced company on various topics.
Okay.
Somehow we were a little early in the time, and that's why we didn't do a good business. So
Right.
I came back to Times Group again after 2 years, and I became the
Mm.
editor of the Maharashtra Times online, because that time the internet had started. So Maharashtra Times wanted to start its online edition, so they
Right.
hired me, and that was my training in web journalism, because I launched that edition. I
Oh,
worked over
okay.
that edition's design, etc., content for
Right.
nearly 6 8 months, and after
Right.
8 months we launched the edition. From
Right.
there, I went to Z News. That time it was Z News Marathi,
Right.
and it was only a few bulletins throughout the day. There were no 24-hour. There was no Marathi 24-hour news channel that time.
Okay.
And that again, like I launched Maharashtra Times
Oh,
online.
wonderful.
I launched Z 24 Tas.
Right. Right.
So when I was there, after I completed 3 years, the company came with a proposal that we have to start now a 24-hour Marathi news channel,
Right.
and
Right. Right.
you develop a project for that. So me,
Right.
along with my two colleagues, I
Sure.
developed that project, and we
Sure.
launched Z 24 Tas. That I left and I went into a completely different direction because I
Y-
wanted to do something international. So
Right.
I went to an organization called Asia Media Forum. So
Right.
I was its full-time outreach and networking fellow, and
Mm-hmm.
I got a chance to move a lot that time in entire Asia.
Right.
We tried to set up that organization, but the 2008 economic crisis came,
Yeah.
and our
Yeah.
funding stopped, so we had to close
Right.
down the organization. And from 2013 now, I am the chief editor of four business to business magazines,
Right.
and they are all science based. One is on biotechnology, biopharma,
Right.
and medtech.
Right.
One is on nutraceutical, functional foods, and dietary supplements called
Right.
NuFFooDS Spectrum.
Right.
And third is the agriculture, AgroSpectrum.
Right.
And the BioSpectrum, which is about biotechnology, has got two editions. One is from India, and another is published from Singapore, which is for APAC region. So that is
Right.
what I
Right.
am doing now.
Right. So, Milind, thank you very much. You very quickly took us through your journey from being a beginner to where you are today. What is of interest to us is what was your initial struggle like? I mean, when you were new completely to this profession, obviously there are struggles. So, could you describe what your struggles were like?
My main struggle was that I am learned and completely in a Marathi medium school.
Hmm.
very ordinary school in MILIND suburbs of Mumbai. It is not a very well known school. Of course, now it is well known, but that time it was not very well known. In our times, King George and all those schools were very well known. So it
Right.
was a very small school in MILIND suburb, and it was a Marathi medium school from which I started. I came out. I completed my SSC.
Right.
Uh, but somehow, when I was doing my journalism in Pune,
Right.
I got a chance to write something for Indian Express.
Okay.
And my teacher, Prakash Kargade, I must take his name here, he was the Pune correspondent of Indian Express, as well as he was teaching us reporting. So he was kind of
Okay.
a mentor for me. And
Okay.
he
Okay.
told me, I used to write in Marathi, I used to contribute a lot to Lok Satta. He
Hmm.
one day told me that, Milind, you understand news very well. Why don't
Yeah.
you try English?
Yeah.
And one incident, it so happened, I think now I feel after so many years that he did it probably purposely. There was a foundation day of Bank of Maharashtra, and he
Hmm.
asked me to go and cover it. H.T. Parekh, who had set up HDFC then,
Yeah.
was to talk on housing finance in Maharashtra.
Right.
So housing finance in India. So
Right.
I went there, I took down the notes, etc., and I came back and I wrote down the report in Marathi.
Mm.
After I completed my report, Kardare told me that, Milind, I made a big mistake. I
Yeah.
said, what is it? He said, actually, it was a very important speech. I should have covered it for Indian Express also. But I
Yeah.
totally forgot. Why don't you do one thing? You have written a Lok Satta report, it is fine. Write down one in English also. I'll correct it.
Okay.
And then I wrote the same report in English. He
In
corrected it.
English.
There were lot many corrections
Yeah.
because my English was very bad.
Right.
And but he said, still you can make it out. You make an effort and you can do it in English. And
Right.
remember, if you go in English, the entire nation is open to you.
Right.
Probably if Kardare wouldn't have done that, I would have remained in Marathi journalism. But because of him, I came into English journalism.
So he
And
was he was the catalyst.
he was the catalyst. And then from there onwards, I decided to go in English only.
Right.
So
Right.
that's why I did my internship in Delhi. Then I went to
Right.
People Journal. But still,
Right.
that time my English was very bad, and every
Right.
time I had to struggle a lot. When I
Right.
write one copy, I had to write
Right.
it several times. My
Right.
reporter will take out many mistakes out of that and say, "Hey, what is this? What you have written?" And
Right.
but I decided at one point, my chief reporter told me in free press. He said, "Why you are spending wasting your time here? You are just getting 500 rupees as a stipend. I will
Right.
ask because your understanding of journalism is good. I will
Right.
transfer you to Naushakti, our sister publication, and
Hmm.
you'll start your full-time job. So your salary will be 900 rupees directly."
Okay. Yeah.
But I say, see, my family background is good. I am not starving for those 400 rupees. I'm
Yeah.
still ready to work for 500 rupees as a
Yeah.
trainee, but I want to
Yeah.
learn this. So
Yeah.
then thereafter, he gave me full support, and
Right.
his name was Deepak Niyogi. He also
Okay.
trained me a lot. And then in
Right.
PTI, I really got a very good training in how to play with the language.
Ha
Because
ha ha.
throughout the PTI files copies throughout the day, unlike
Right.
newspaper.
Right.
And those were the days when television was not there. So when anything happens, immediately PTI files the copy. And then
Right.
throughout
Right.
the day, you have to cover it. So you have to write the same news many times in different
Multiple
language.
times
So
in
that
different
really
languages.
gives you a good training. And I met,
Good exposure. Yeah.
yeah, I met another mentor there, my news editor called MD Prabhu. And all these people were like uncles to me because they were all friends of my father. So they
Father.
also
Right.
treated me like that. So Prabhu Saab he was so meticulous that he will come to the office every day exactly at 9. And the first
Okay.
thing he'll do is that whatever copies have been filed from Mumbai, he will
Hmm.
go through every copy. And
Okay.
not only he will go through it, he will make corrections on that.
Okay.
So that was a lesson for us. So every day after he
Hmm.
finishes, those bunch used to come out. Then we
Come
used to
back.
see, अरे, there used to be a tension. मेरे copy में क्या mistake निकाला
Yeah.
है?
Obviously.
हाँ.
Obviously.
So we have to
Obviously.
go through this. And
Right.
then one day I still remember, I'll just take 1 minute to complete this point. But how small things can make a change in your language.
Hmm.
There was a heavy rains in Mumbai as usual, and I filed a
Hmm.
usual copy. There was a
Right.
sentence in that fire brigade received many calls as there was a waterlogging at many places, and there
Right.
were many calls where trees fell down.
Right.
So and put an arrow, and in the margin he wrote uprooted, which was the right English. See, my English was Marathi English. Jada padli, trees fell down,
Right.
and he made it uprooted.
Yeah.
So there I realized how the proper English word should be used.
And the power
And
of
thereafter in
expression.
my life I never used the word trees fell down. It was always uprooted.
Yeah. That's the power of expression.
So
So
that was
so
my main
Milind.
struggle. That
Yeah.
other struggles I did not have to face much. That is because I had seen my father's lifestyle and knew that I have to pass through that.
Yeah,
Like
but
hard working hours,
yeah, so
etc.
I would definitely want to ask this question, which now you have information, and
Yeah,
information is money, right?
correct.
And in the real sense.
Yeah.
So and whenever there is a information, there are always two sides to it, and
Mhm.
that's what is people like us see.
Mm,
When you say there is a information or there's a fact,
mm,
it could be true from your perspective and it could be false from someone else's perspective. Now this happens very often,
yeah.
right? So you are actually caught between the devil and the deep sea. So
Yeah.
you must have faced some situations like this. Also there are a lot of unknown forces who are affected by your reporting, your in
Yeah.
the sense any journalist reporting. And there have been incidents, we are aware of it, that your actual life could be in danger for having reported something.
Yeah.
So what kind of danger and tough situations have you faced? Could you elaborate on one or two of them?
See, I'll tell you one thing. There are certain advantages of working in a place like Mumbai, and that too in a very prominent brands like PTI and Times of India. People may not be happy sometimes you, but there are no death threats or something like that.
Right.
That really is a security that you get in a place like Mumbai. Maybe
Right.
if you're working in somewhere, Mofussil area, interior, these things happen. So I would
Mm.
not say that there was any life-threatening situation for me. But
Right.
what you say is one thing is correct, that several times when you write something, suppose I have to write something against you, somebody has told me something about it. Uh,
Mm.
I ask a question to myself. I mean, is this really right? Am I damaging the person's image or
Okay.
anything like that? And unless I am 100% convinced, I am more cautious in that than any other many
Right.
journalists. So even they used
So
to tell me that you are more cautious. But I always feel
no,
that
so you are actually, if I may say so, you are actually talking about ethical journalism.
yes, and that's
That
why
is,
I did my
yes.
PhD in ethics in
Right.
journalism, and that
Right.
is because I felt this problem is not there, and there are no platforms to discuss these ethical problems. I will just
Right.
give you one simple example how you get caught in a particular situation sometimes.
Right. Right.
I was used to cover courts, magistrate courts, and the clerk of the court used to know us very well. So one day, that clerk, when we are going through the remand papers, he told me, "Sir, there is one case there, and my suggestion is that there is a woman. She has been arrested. She was there in the court, a very
Hmm.
young woman.
Right.
Please don't give her name." So we were
Okay.
a little bit surprised that how can a clerk can tell us, clerk of the court can tell us that not to publish something.
Yeah.
He said, no,
Yeah.
no, he said, this is my suggestion. You just go through the paper, and if you feel you can give it, but let me tell you the story. So he told it was
Hmm.
a case of typical in those days, there was a black marketing of foreign currency because foreign
Right.
currency was not available.
Right. Right.
Her owner was involved in that, and she was
Hmm.
a receptionist in that office. So she used
Oh,
to
okay.
receive all those packets.
All
So
that
everywhere
packet.
her signatures were there. And
Oh.
that's why police had arrested her because her
Oh my.
signatures were there.
Oh
So
my
he
God.
said, beyond that, she doesn't know anything. And her marriage is fixed. She's having an engagement some after 15 days.
Oh.
And if you publish her name, maybe her marriage can be broken. So
Wow.
you think about it, you go through the remand paper and you think about it. And we really thought that after reading that, even police remand also had mentioned that her role was limited to only receiving the packets
Receiving the
without
packets.
knowing
Right.
inside.
Yeah.
So there were two, three of us reporter were going through that. So three of us decided we'll not give the name as it is. She was not a prime suspect. But
Yeah.
these kind of ethical dilemmas come in
Yes.
front of you.
Right. Right.
You have to face them, and
Right.
that is
Right.
why then sometimes you have to face the court cases.
Right.
I have appeared in Mumbai High Court election petition 1996 to 1999 in almost 11 cases.
Oh, I see.
Because I had covered one particular election meeting on Girdao Chowpatty, which was mentioned in all election petitions in that time.
I
So
see.
in every case, I was called as a witness there. So you
I
have to
see.
you have to go as a witness sometimes. And now,
Yeah. Yeah.
particularly, the situation is very awkward when you are covering riots, etc. And that is
Yeah.
because you have seen something,
Right.
and then people, in particular in television days, what happens? There are requests comes from the police that you give us a CD of visuals.
Oh, I see.
Okay, because we want it as a proof. We want to identify the people who did this, and
Right.
you have covered
Right.
it.
Right.
So all these
Right.
ethical dilemmas come. So I thought that ethics is a major problem, and which are not being discussed at all. And that's why
Right.
I should really do some probe into that. So what you are
Right.
saying is correct. That various problems come, various issues come. The main problem you talked about is truth, and that is a really major problem. That what is truth exactly? Who
Yeah.
can define the truth? There is
Yes.
a very
Yes.
nice Japanese movie by
Yeah.
Akira Kurosawa,
Right.
which talks about truth from six, seven angles, and
Oh, I
the
see.
same story is repeated seven times from different persons' angles, and it
Oh,
little bit
okay.
changes because how I will tell you.
and then how somebody else will tell you. That is
So the
how
whole perspective changes.
yeah,
The whole
correct.
perspective
And
changes.
then ultimately the movie ends with a question that, what really happened actually there.
Yeah, what was the real truth?
So that is what the problem of truth is. So what you are saying is
Fantastic.
correct. So what I feel is the truth may not be truth sometimes. Then
Right.
personal ideologies came. A simple thing like, suppose let us assume that a slum colony is being demolished in Mumbai.
Mm.
A person who coming from a very rich background and who feels that slums is not a good thing to have in city, he won't mind anything if the slum colony has been demolished completely.
Right.
So
Right.
his writing will be from that perspective.
Right.
Whereas there could be, I know one reporter, a very good reporter of an English newspaper,
Hmm.
who
Hmm.
actually spent his school days in slum because he came from
Oh.
a very poor family.
Oh, I see. Right.
So his perspective when a slum is being demolished, his perspective
It's
will be
very different.
completely different. And that is
Yes.
because he knows that his home can be demolished like that
Yes.
next day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
all these ideologies also come in between.
Right, right. So, Milind, I mean, what are those top two or three personal skills and personality traits that you would like to mention, which the youngsters today should possess if they want to come into the field of journalism and be successful at that?
See, one thing, important thing I feel is that, everybody says in any profession you go, hard work has to be done
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sincerity has
That
to be
goes
there,
without saying.
commitment has
Yeah.
to be there. But hard work here is slightly different. I
Right.
will put it the other way. It is the hard work in the hard situations, hard
Uh,
atmosphere,
right.
covering the criminal riot,
Right. It's very
covering,
tough.
yeah, covering an accident.
Yeah.
I
Right.
remember there was a building crash. In my very early days in preparation, there was a building crash called Sunbeam building
Hmm.
in Marine Line
Oh,
Park.
Sunbeam. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And one boy got injured, his legs got fractured. So he was shifted to the hospital. So after covering that crash site, I went to the hospital and
Hmm.
I was talking to his father, and his sister was there. She got actually came shouting at me. He said, "Where were you when all this was happening? Now you are coming to asking us." So you have to
Hmm.
able to deal this kind of situations many a time where people are angry. You are surrounded by an angry mob, and
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
have to face them. So that is what is I
Right.
call the work in the hard situations. If
Right.
there is a
Yeah.
fire, I remember if there is a fire and it is a big fire, we have
Hmm.
stood there for 8 hours and cover that fire.
Hmm.
We can't leave unless my reliever comes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody else will
Okay.
relieve me by 4 p.m. So I was standing there from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. like that.
Right.
So
Right.
these kind of hard work, different kind of hard work we have to face.
Yeah.
But as far as the
Absolutely.
personality traits are concerned, I feel that number one traits any journalist should have, that he should be skeptical. He should not
Okay.
be happy with anybody, whatever is telling
Whatever,
him.
whatever is visible
Yeah.
and presented
You
to
should
him.
always raise questions on that. Anil Gupte
Right.
can tell me anything.
Correct.
He always will tell me good thing about what organization is running.
Right.
That does not mean that it could be good. So I should
Right.
have a questions over that. So
Right. Right.
skepticism is the very first essential quality. Second
Hmm.
essential quality, a person has to be communicative. And
Right.
communicative means you should be able to talk from a slum dweller or a child to a Ratan Tata.
Right. Right.
You
So
never
you should be
know.
good
You
at
get a
communication. Yeah.
yeah. You should get a seat next to Ratan Tata in an Air India flight, say from
Right.
Mumbai to Delhi, and Ratan
Right.
Tata asks you, "Chalo, come on, you are a journalist. Ask me questions. I am ready
Yeah.
to answer." You are getting an interview of Ratan Tata, which is very difficult to get, and you don't have a questions because that why? Because you are not communicative. You are not worked on it. So along with communication skills, you also must have a lot of general knowledge. Any person
Hmm.
you can meet anytime and he can ask me two questions.
Hmm.
And what you will ask him? Once
Hmm.
I remember Naveen Patnaik's father, who was
Right.
Orissa Chief Minister, Biju
What is
Patnaik.
achievement? Yeah.
He
Biju Patnaik.
telephoned us in the office and he said, "I have come to Mumbai for 2 days. I am at Taj Hotel. Please send your reporter." So my chief reporter asked me, "Go and meet Biju Patnaik. Just listen what he wants to say." So
Right.
I went there. Now you have to prepare questions in the mind
Yeah.
and you have to deal with the situation. So you have to be
Right.
very, very communicative
Right.
and have a continuous general knowledge. And that is because any person you can meet anytime, he can tell you that, "Okay, I'm ready to talk, ask me questions."
Right.
You don't know who the person is. That also can happen.
Right. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Then third most important quality for any journalist is having curiosity of everything. You should be a child always throughout your life. Even today, I got a lot of curiosity.
Yeah, of course, of course, of
The
course.
moment we'll finish our interview, I'll telephone you and I'll ask you, "Arey, kaise chal raha hai? What is this you are exactly doing? Is there a market for that? Is there real?"
Yeah,
Because that gives me some insight into the employment market.
right, right.
So that kind of curiosity always should be
Curiosity,
there.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Then third
So,
important
yeah.
quality is the you should not become cynic. This is the most dangerous part of a journalist's life because you meet
Oh.
people from Sonia Gandhi to Narendra Modi to industry leaders to filmmakers to everybody. And after some time, some people feel, "Arey, wo bhi ordinary hai, ye bhi ordinary hai, nothing is happening, nobody is there." So that
Mm-hmm.
cynicism should not come into it,
Right,
into your
right,
mind.
right,
Uh,
right.
and then on personal level, one should be ready for, as I said, hardworking is one thing, but giving up many personal things, and that is mainly the
Ah,
family life. And that is
right,
because you never know what will happen and you will be called to the office.
right,
Actually,
right.
sometimes, in riots, we have worked for nearly 48 hours together in the office. Coming to know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
always say that who is the best reporter in Mumbai? The best
Hmm.
reporter in Mumbai, he goes to the office when everywhere waterlogging is there, all
Yeah,
transport is at halt, but he still
right.
reaches to the office. One of
Yeah,
my
yeah.
friends from Dombivli started at 9 and he reached to the
Mm.
office at 6 in Maharashtra Times.
Oh,
But he
fantastic.
reached. He is the
But he
real
reached.
journalist.
That is important. That
Those
is
who
important.
worked after knowing what corona, how it is dangerous, still those
Mm.
who work, they are the real reporters.
Absolutely,
So you have to
absolutely.
be ready to work in these kind of situations.
Right, right,
I'm not talking about war reporting, which is much more difficult. You have to be taken
right,
actually into the
right,
war and you have to
right,
get the
right,
chance to
right,
see that. But
right.
personally, you have to leave many things, and that is because the all the holidays are not there. Festival holidays are
Right,
not there.
right,
You may get
right.
Dasara, then somebody else will get Diwali. So you have to work on
Hmm.
Diwali.
Right, right.
Christians will get Christmas holiday.
Yeah.
Vacations are not sure. Sometimes you plan something and suppose Mumbai, all your vacations are cancelled. I remember,
Hmm.
those were the days, my early young days, and I had fixed my marriage, and I
Hmm.
decided to go for a movie with my would-be. And
Hmm.
suddenly I got a call from the office. You must be remembering there was a crash of Air India aircraft called Kanishka in
Yeah,
Atlantic
yeah.
coming
Yes,
from
yes, I
Toronto to
remember.
Mumbai.
Yeah, I
And
remember.
since it was coming to Mumbai, Mumbai became a main center for coverage.
Right.
So entire PTI staff was on duty immediately. So everybody was
Oh,
called
obviously, yeah.
because you never know how many people will be required. So I
Very
had to given
major,
up my
man.
plan for movie, etc., and I had to go and attend the office. So many
Right,
personal sacrifices we have to do.
right,
So you
right,
should be
right.
ready for that. Then one more thing in hard working is that working hard from 9 to 7 is a different thing. But if you
Yeah.
are asked to work from 7 to 2 in the night,
Then
that
that
is
is
a
a
real
different,
difficult part.
different, yeah, that's a different
So you have to
situation.
be prepared for that because most of the time your duties are like that. A newspaper
Right,
office many a time does not start before 12, and then it
right,
will
right,
be there up to 12 midnight. And now
right,
television has changed completely. It has become a 24-hour model.
right, right,
So you have to work like that. So you should be
right.
prepared for all these kind of things. And then
Absolutely.
two more important qualities I always feel is that uh, right from the beginning you should be able to develop your network of contacts.
Right,
That is going to pay you a lot later when you become
right,
senior.
right, right, right. So, Milind, one very quick response from you about common question that most people have in mind, particularly the parents of young children have this in mind as to what would be the prospects. And when they talk of prospects, it could be in terms of the remuneration that you
Mm.
earn, and it could be in terms of the social standing that you earn. So, all of these, can you
Yeah,
quickly throw some light on
yeah,
this?
sure. See, first thing we must always remember that the salaries in journalism in the initial part are very low compared to many other professions. So you should be prepared to do some kind of a financial sacrifice. But social standing is very high. I mean, I can tell you that how many of you get a chance to meet chief minister one to one
Yeah,
or a
absolutely.
prime minister one to one?
Yes,
I will give
yes.
you one example. In 1984 riots, I got a chance to meet Rajiv Gandhi. I was standing 6 inches away from him and having a conversation with him.
Wow.
I believe none in my class would have got that chance. They all have
Correct.
got good jobs and they were earning much more than me that time.
Right.
But nobody get that chance. So that excitement has to be there. And if you are
True,
excited by such
true.
things, then there
True.
is a prospect for you, definitely. Now, there
Right.
are problems I will tell you. Currently, one major problem is that the number is more than the required jobs. And that is because, I said that during my time, there were only two journalism courses in Maharashtra. Now,
Right.
every university has got, in Mumbai
Journalism as a
University,
course.
in Mumbai University itself, I'll give you one statistic. Every year, uh, approximately 5 to 6,000 Bachelor of Mass Media students come out.
Oh, really? Oh, I was
Yeah.
not aware.
So
Okay.
you can imagine how many must be there in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
entire
yeah.
nation. So
Right, right,
market is flooded, and when market is flooded, obviously the prices go down. So
right,
what you are getting 10,000 rupees, actually you should get 12,000 after 2 years. Now
right,
it has come down to 8,000 rupees because people are available for 8,000 rupees.
right, right, right,
So that problem is there, but still, once you go inside and when
right,
you adopt many other things or qualities which I had told you earlier, you can
right.
start growing. And once you grow at higher level, definitely good salaries are there. I can give
Mm,
one example without taking name, but it was like a
mm,
CEO. I mean, a
right,
very good paper, big group, and their chief editor recently retired. Retired means he decided to leave.
right,
He was not there. Uh,
right,
I believe his salary was something around, annual salary was something around 2.5 crore like a CEO. But in a company, when a CEO is earning 2.5 crore, a junior person maybe start with 45,000, 50,000.
right,
Here, that gap is more. You will start with 10,000. But there is a
right,
scope for you. If you properly go ahead,
right, right,
you can reach
right,
to that level of lakhs of
right,
rupees earning.
right, right.
And social standing is always there. I mean, you are getting invitation to all the functions. You
Yeah,
become envy in your family.
yeah, yeah.
I can tell you many a times my relatives are waiting to speak to me because they know I got a chance to speak to Sharad Pawar. I got a
And
chance
you've
to
been
speak to
first-hand
yeah,
information will be available with
exactly,
you.
or some film star or some industrialist or what is something inside happening. We don't know from the paper, but you can tell us. So that kind of a social standing you definitely get.
Right. I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah. And for paucity of time, Milian, we will have to wind up. But before we wind up, one important question: what do you see as the future trends? Because those youngsters who join your profession today, what are their next 20, 30 years going to be like? What things are going to impact
See,
them?
there are two, three things we must understand. One is first, the journalism is going to be more and more technology driven.
Right.
Everybody is saying, and the figures are also showing that print is going down. So digital
Right.
journalism is the key of next 2 3 years. So you have to think completely in a different way because
Right.
digital opens up lot many possibilities in
Right.
visuals, videos, and audios than our
Right.
old print journalism
Right. Right.
with which we all grew up. Okay.
Right. Right. Right.
Television, I worked for some time, 5 years. So television gave me some idea how it is going to be. But
Right.
it is going to really completely change everything. And then
Right.
everything has come on this handheld device.
Hmm.
Nobody is required now. Laptops and computers,
Correct.
etc.
Correct.
has gone.
Right.
Let me tell you one change that has happened is that
Hmm.
several reporters are now given good smartphones and they
Right.
do shooting on that.
Oh,
The
okay.
cameras are not used nowadays for television
Right.
reporting many a
Oh, I
time.
see. I
One of
see.
my colleague who is an actual full-time professor in Mumbai University, was
Yeah.
in university and now with some private university,
Yeah.
he conducts workshops or how to shoot on phone
Oh, I
and
see.
how to edit it on phone because everything can be done on phone and still
Right.
a 2 minute clip can come out. So they will have to
Right.
learn that. But
Right.
these are all technical things that young generation can learn fast. I know that. What is
Right.
basic is that your basics have to be really strong, and for
Hmm.
that the reading has to be there.
Right.
If you
Right.
don't read, then there is no scope for in journalism. I meet
Right.
many students; they come to
Right.
me, and then I find out that they are not read. They are not reading even daily paper also, or not watching any
Uh-huh.
news and bulletin.
Right.
So then,
Right.
then you don't have any prospects. But
Right.
at the entry level, yes, prospects are at the moment are difficult. So you have to
Right.
think of various other options also. Like
Right.
there are various international organizations which are studying media now. Their openings are there, but then you have to have some kind of a additional degree like masters in journalism, which tells you how to do media research,
Hmm.
maybe even a doctorate that will tell you
Hmm.
how to do a media research. So you
Right.
can go into media research. Media research is a very good field, and that is not going to die. Whatever may
Right.
happen, till media is there,
Right.
media research will be there. So
Right.
not only pure reporting or editing, etc., but these kind of a side things that you must be ready to go into different kinds of media, news media. I'm not talking about entertainment at all. That's a
Right.
different field altogether, though it is part of
Right.
media. So
Right.
these are the problems that we must accept first. That yes, there is a lot of crowd, and that's why entry barriers are a lot. But once you get an entry and you really
Right. Right.
behave properly, then you can go ahead.
Right, right, sure. And so your interview has been really very brilliant, and some of the key takeaways, if I can say, are actually the importance of knowing first. If there is information, you should be the first one to know.
Correct.
That's a very important thing. And then you talked about a keen interest in knowing what is happening around you, and so there's a continuous learning tendency that is required. Then you talked about how ethics are very important, and you even warned people about not being cynical, and
That is
you
very
should
important.
yeah, not being cynical, and how sometimes your life is affected, your family life is affected. So it's a tough job, not a very easy one. So, and finally, of course, you talked about technology. I mean, the future of journalism is going to be driven largely by technology. So, thank you very much for this valuable information, and it is going to help our viewers to choose and finalize in their if it is in on their mind to be a journalist. So, thank you very much, Milind, for being
Thank
with
you.
us on this
Thank you.
program.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a
Thanks
lot.
a lot.
Thank you.